Washington Post politics reporter Dave Weigel has been suspended following him retweeting a, quote, sexist joke. He reposted a tweet that says, "Every girl is bi, you just have to figure out if it's polar or sexual," bipolar or bisexual. His coworker Felicia Sonmez retweeted Weigel saying, "Fantastic to work at a news outlet where retweets like this are allowed," which ultimately led to Weigel's suspension. This despite the fact that Weigel did take down the tweet and apologize publicly almost immediately. Weigel will be without pay during the suspension, according to CNN.
Sonmez had a byline with Weigel just weeks ago, presuming the two worked closely on this story about the Iowa Supreme Court, leading some to question why Felicia didn't just talk to Weigel face-to-face if the tweet bothered her, rather than blast him on social media.
Before we talk about this, I got to get a couple disclaimers out of the way. So I know Dave Weigel socially. We're friends. We were both groomsmen in a wedding. He used to work at Reason a long time ago before I did, where Reason magazine, where I'm also employed. Felicia Sonmez is also known to me and to us at Reason. We published an account so she had accused someone of sexual misconduct. Me Too issue, we published an account by that person, sort of contradicting that. So she's not a fan of ours. So
yeah, I get it.
I know the involved people.
And that's fair to disclose. I have a professional relationship with Dave Weigel as working in media, but not a personal one. And honestly, I don't think there's really a dispute about the nature of the tweet. I mean, the tweet is funny because it is reductive about gender, and like, right. It is what it is.
Gender stereotypes are funny.
I mean, it is what it is. The question is whether or not the punishment fits the crime here. And I think that even people who might have joined Sonmez in some critique of David Weigel's choice to retweet that tweet are now solidly in Camp Weigel, because the idea of suspending someone for a month without pay.
That's a massive financial cut.
It's a huge financial cut. And it's incredibly coercive when we're talking about what's happening on the internet. And I will say, this issue of people who work together at media institutions taking their claims to Twitter instead of HR, or just talking to their colleagues, really is a phenomenon that is getting out of hand. And it says to me that the issue here isn't personal aggrievement or feeling like you want to raise a concern with your colleague or improve your workplace environment. It really is a punitive instinct that's about dragging people in the social sphere and trying to get there to be bigger reputational harms that aren't really about you getting along with somebody, making your job a better place, anything like that.
I don't know why, elite liberal media journalists like these people working at the Washington Post think that it's okay to just attack your colleagues on social media. It is not okay, and no other employer would tolerate that.
Right.
They would just fire you.
Right.
If you have a problem with a colleague's behavior on social media, or something they've said or something they've done to you, right, you're supposed to talk to a supervisor, have that issue sorted out. I think that probably did also happen in this case, and that's fine. But in addition to that, she is going off on him on social media. There was actually a lot of yelling at people who then also defended Weigel internally at the company. It is some crazy stuff happening. And this is so absurdly unprofessional behavior that would not be tolerated in any other environment and should not be tolerated in this environment. It is correct to not tolerate it in any environment.
Yeah. I understand a world where if you had a complaint internally and you tried to move it up the ranks, but for some reason people inside your institution were not hearing you out, weren't listening, and you felt like as a case of last resort, you were going to blast someone on the internet with the expectation that you were also going to lose your job, but feeling like this is the only thing only recourse left at your disposal, fine, do that. But as someone, I gotta say, as someone who's both worked in media and who has also worked at a law firm in a more conservative, I think, typical corporate office environment, the idea that I would ever speak publicly on the internet about some inter-office dispute with the coworker and not expect to be personally sanctioned for that is so insane to me. It's so insane to me.
Which is funny because that's the original joke that got this is stereotyping
Robby
certain people as insane. Really not like going against that stereotype at the minute from some of this behavior we're witnessing.
Yeah, and this is a problem. This happened. There was an incident at the Intercept while I was there as well, where even if I were to agree with the underlying critique of the person who tweeted, very quickly it becomes difficult. Everybody starts to look bad. Everybody starts to look bad because the punishment does not fit the crime. And you have to start to ask yourself why somebody would What is the larger toxicity of this institution where people have this much animus that they want to publicly embarrass, not just curb their coworkers' behavior, rehabilitate their coworkers' behavior, have a conversation about how their feelings were hurt with their coworker and feel hurt, but publicly humiliate their coworker and threaten them with loss of job and income over a tweet. Not to mention the fact that if you go through, I'm sure, as people probably have done now, go through this woman's tweet or any number of other people's tweets, the tweets aren't good. Very few people have a clean tweet record of things that they were.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking. I tweeted this morning because this thought occurred to me. I've seen people. I've made this joke myself. I think it's funny. I've seen women make this joke. The joke about men that the men would rather do X thing than go to therapy.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Men don't have headboards. Men don't clean their showers.
Right.
Men have mold on their shower.
Right.
Look, I'm not saying it's right, but people make these kind of reductive jokes all the time.
I don't think it's wrong either. It's just right.
And the problem is that Twitter is this weird space, especially for journalists, that is both professional and personal. And your professional Twitter is benefited by having a good personality and having things that you tweet about outside of the professional context. And sometimes there are consequences for that. And that's not to say that people like Weigel shouldn't be careful, because look, people are going to look askance at your reporting if you take certain kinds of positions outside of the professional realm, and people have to live and die on that hill as well. But the idea that there are professional sanctions to his salary as a consequence of this, I think has pretty uniformly made people supportive.
For a whole month. I mean, if you think about it, that's a massive loss of income.
It's a 12th of his yearly income.
Yeah, well, you did the math on there really more quickly than I could. But he's a major employee of the Washington Post. I have no idea what he makes, but that's probably a good amount of money.
Now, amid the tensions, a video technician, Briahna Muir, took the opportunity to slam Michael Gelman, the head of the Post video team, for tagging Briahna Muir as Breonna Taylor in a recent tweet when referencing the video team. Muir's letter to the newsroom reads, "These retweets not only hurt women in our newsroom, but make it extremely difficult to do our best work and ultimately creates a toxic work environment." Now, first of all, when you type something on Twitter, it auto-populates. When you do @Briahna with the same spelling as Brianna, it's gonna fill in the more common, the most popular.
So I think in this one it was not an autofill though.
Okay.
So
regardless,
but you're right.
That has literally happened to me. Like I've been talking about Breonna Taylor to people and have had people refer to me and vice versa because we have this.
Oh right, it's happened to you, yeah.
It's literally happened to me, and I did not take it as someone like I once had a humiliating moment in high school where I had to go get something from an administrator's office whose name was something Diamond, George Diamond, and I went into the office and kept asking for Neil Diamond, and they were staring at me like,
Yep.
Because sometimes you just substitute
when you accidentally
a famous
call your
person's
teacher
name.
mom. Did you ever do that in school?
Right. And I understand if it's part of a pattern of bigger behavior. But that's not what's being alleged.
Yeah, a one-off
here.
incident like that.
You have the same name.
To consider that some evidence of some culture of, I mean, Jesus Christ.
I don't know, man. I don't know what we've come to. I say this often, and I'll keep saying it, and I'm going to say it again. Liberals should be careful not to overcharge more than they can actually prove. There is legitimate workplace discrimination that happens. There are all kind of wage theft claims that are rampant across the country. There are EEOC claims that never get litigated because it's too costly and the barriers are too high to entry. And in the middle of all of this, we are undermining the cause by taking a small professional sliver of the population who has a very loud microphone and elevating their claims as the be-all, end-all, sine qua non of what discrimination is in America. And I just cannot impress upon folks enough that this is hurting the broader cause.
Yeah, and it makes you look freaking crazy.
Well, we'll see what comes of this. The public opinion, like I said, I think is really aligning.
I think people are on Team Weigel.
Yeah.
I was seeing a lot of. So you of course can talk about other publications, just not People at Journals. I'm seeing a lot of Weigel sympathetic people, really going off on social media about how truly nuts this is.
Yeah.
So, and it is. But we will have more Rising right after this.